the now single mom is determined to achieve success.
She was always going to some class. How to handle your money, how to make it.
Her first step, opening her own nail salon.
All the clients liked her. I know my mother even went to her. She was very good at it, yeah. Very good, quick.
This is a real momentous occasion in her life. This is a real step. Instead of trying to rely on men and depend on men, here is this single mother saying, I'm gonna be a business owner. I'm gonna open my own business. And to find it successful would have been very satisfying.
What's up, Panic Fam? I'm Hannah. And if it's 2 a.m., the lights are off and the popcorn has gone cold, you know, it's Panic TV time. Welcome. If you survived this, and this, congratulations, all right? Congratulations. But your luck runs out here.
Once upon a time, real estate brokers 𝐸𝙬𝙀🙗 and Tyler Walsh put a down payment on a lifetime of love.
You could see the love in their eyes. It was a very special day for them.
Ed was really the perfect man for Tyler.
I was thrilled. I was so happy they were getting married.
But suddenly, their future is in foreclosure.
It's like, it can't be happening.
I mean, shock and denial. I thought, no way.
It's a tragedy that should have never happened.
For this couple, the honeymoon is over. In Overland Park, Kansas, magic fills the air as 49-year-old Tyler Walsh marries 47-year-old 𝐸𝙬𝙀🙗 in an intimate ceremony.
It was very lovely. Tyler's family was there, and just a few of Eddie's family and friends. It was quaint and beautiful at the same time.
In my lifetime, I have known 2 couples that I thought were perfect for each other, and they were one of them.
Tyler, you're my best friend, my soulmate.
You could tell Tyler really loved
I love
him
you very much.
and wanted to be with him.
And I'm happy to spend the rest of my life with you.
Eddie was always smiling, and they did look cute together. They were a handsome couple.
They've both been down the aisle before, but this time, they know it's forever. The guests agree. Eddie and Tyler are the perfect match.
I think it's an old adage to say that opposites attract, but it's not very true. Actually, we get along better with people who are a lot like us, who like to do some of the same things. Tyler and Eddie are a case in point. They are very career-oriented, they were very ambitious, they were in the same industry, real estate. They also loved the party life and were big personalities out there on the party scene. They were made for each other, a Barbie and Ken in the social world.
I thought they interacted great. Regardless of their age, they were so youthful and fun-loving.
I now pronounce y'all man and wife, and may kiss your bride.
Ed was regarded by everyone who knew him as kind and generous and happy-go-lucky and just a guy who had a good heart.
I'm so happy you're in our family.
Tyler was a beautiful woman. I mean, her looks and on the inside. She had a good, good heart.
But 11 months later, their second chance romance teeters on the brink of tragedy. A call comes into Overland Park 911 dispatch. It's a panicked Tyler.
Emergency, my home is being robbed right now. Yes, I believe the robbers are still.
She's afraid something terrible has happened at their home.
Please hurry, my husband's in there still. He's ill.
She explains Eddie has the flu, so she's been staying at one of their rental properties until he feels better.
She was continuing to be worried about Ed because he was sick and that she had called several times to check on him.
Eddie didn't answer, so earlier that evening, she stopped by.
She saw that the things inside the house looked as though there had been some struggle. Something bad or wrong had happened in the house.
Can you imagine walking into your own home, stuff in disarray, thinking your husband is supposed to be safely in there sleeping, and he's not answering your call? I'm sure she was absolutely terrified. I mean, that's a scary thing because you don't know if there's a bad guy in there.
She ran back outside to her car, and that's when she called the police.
This is emergency. My home is being robbed right now.
Tyler waits in terror. Has something happened to her beloved Eddie?
Oh, please hurry.
Eddie Patton is born in Kansas City, Missouri. His parents are absolutely devoted to him.
They adored him because that was the only child. So Eddie was the apple of their eye, you know. He was a good kid.
They just thought the world of Eddie. He was their one and only, and they dearly loved him. He was a cut-up. You never knew what kind of prank he was going to pull. Wasn't shy, just a good kid, but an ornery boy.
After college, Eddie enters the family business, a successful real estate firm. Selling houses is the perfect outlet for his big personality.
Well, the great thing about extroverts like Eddie is they're able to reach out to anybody, make that phone call, not be shy, and they tend to have really good sales abilities because they can put on a show.
He meets a local girl and gets married, but it doesn't last.
Eddie wasn't meant to be tied down. He loved to party and go places, and his wife wanted to stay home, wanted him to settle down a little more, and Eddie didn't want to.
When his father dies, Eddie takes over the family business.
Hold on one second.
I think he felt a lot of pressure having to run the business like his father did.
Okay, ma'am.
He wasn't one to sit behind the desk.
I'm sure there was a lot of pressure on him because he was the only child. His father was a huge success.
All right.
Could he possibly live up?
Eddie succeeds and also finds time to be the toast of the Kansas City social scene. The one thing missing is a woman to share his work hard, play hard lifestyle. Tyler is born Phyllis Walsh in Kansas City. She's the eldest of 3 children in a broken home.
Her family was on the poor side. I believe her father had 2 families, one on one block and one on the other block. She told me the other ones were much better off than her family.
Blessed with raven hair and striking good looks, she dreams of growing up and escaping to a better life.
She was beautiful and always had grandiose plans. Move on and do something bigger.
Tyler was her own woman, and she wanted to be successful. She wanted to live a life that exhibited her successfulness, and she wasn't afraid to work for it.
At 19, she gets married and has a daughter. But the relationship ends in divorce. The now single mom is determined to achieve success.
She was always going to some class. How to handle your money, how to make it.
Her first step, opening her own nail salon.
All the clients liked her. I know my mother even went to her. She was very good at it, yeah. Very good, quick.
This is a real momentous occasion in her life. This is a real step. Instead of trying to rely on men and depend on men, here is this single mother saying, I'm gonna be a business owner. I'm gonna open my own business. And to find it successful would have been very satisfying.
But along with success comes 2 more failed marriages. It seems she's good at everything but love.
I don't think she was getting the kind of attention she wanted or needed, especially because of her growing up years.
Looking to reinvent herself, Phyllis changes her name to Tyler and dyes her hair blonde.
Which is such a contrast to her cold, dark hair. It's like a perfect blonde. And she had the blue eyes. She was tall, she was thin, and she looked like a little angel, sweet.
I think with each marriage, Tyler wanted to start over and she wanted to be a new person. It's most evident after she literally changes her hair color from dark to blonde and to change her name even. Her whole goal was to reinvent herself and leave something behind, something buried, so that she could surge ahead in another way.
The new Tyler also changes careers, diving into the world of real estate. She loves to take on remodeling projects, doing most of the heavy work herself.
She likes to work with wood. And I know one time we went over there, she had her own table saw. She cut her own boards, nail them into place. But I was awed by somebody with so little who would take on such a big project.
Tyler was not the typical woman in that she didn't pick out the drapes. She was in there with the hammers and the nail guns and the paintbrushes and the saws.
In early 1999, she has a chance encounter with Eddie. They've met in real estate circles before, but now they really have time to talk.
Oh my gosh, you look great!
Thank you. You look, wow.
Their personalities are so similar. They click immediately. Eddie is wowed by Tyler and asks her out on a date.
She was supposed to come over one evening, and she called and said, I met someone. She says, so if you were me, would you go over to your girlfriends or go out with this guy? I said, I'd go out with the guy.
On their date, the spark between them grows even more intense. They both realize this could be the start of something magical.
You are so funny.
But now that white-hot connection feels severed.
Tyler reported to them that she had been inside but not completely through the house and that things were in disarray. She was worried that something was wrong.
Can you stay inside the car while we go in the house?
Police begin their search, preparing to find an intruder, or Eddie, or both. Police in Overland Park, Kansas, are searching the home of Tyler and Eddie Patton. It could be a burglary in progress. And Eddie, who's been sick, might be in danger.
The house overall had been disrupted. It had been torn apart. Items were out of place. Drawers had been opened. Things had been taken out of the drawers. It looked like there had been a struggle or a search from one end of the house to the other. They went up the stairs and went from room to room on their guard so that if there was still a suspect inside, that they would be ready for that.
And in the master bedroom,
What law enforcement found was a homicide victim. And the person had clearly been beaten repeatedly.
Officers believe they found the missing groom. But the damage to his face is so severe, he's unrecognizable. Has Tyler's worst nightmare come true? Just 2 years earlier, Eddie and Tyler are rediscovering the joys of love.
Ed and Tyler clicked because they were both in the same circle of friends. They both had the same interests, which is real estate, flipping houses and making some money, and also to go out, have a social life, and spend a lot of time together.
He laughed all the time. He had the best sense of humor, and he was good looking, and she was very attractive, fun-loving, and they were both just crazy fun.
Tyler is a beautiful go-getter who knows how to balance her professional and personal life.
Eddie was drawn to Tyler because of her feistiness, and she could hold her own with him, and they would tease one another, and I think he was attracted towards that.
You know, this was a woman who could play hard and work hard. Eddie was pretty independent himself, and I think meeting a woman who could stand on her own 2 feet, be independent, but also keep up with him was pretty exciting for him.
Eddie has everything: good looks, a kind heart, and success.
Eddie's personality was a draw for anyone. I think she took to that. I believe Tyler was attracted to the social life and the connections that he had.
In the real estate community, Ed and Tyler were the couple to envy because they seemed to be very happy. They appeared to be good to one another. Ed and Tyler were a couple that seemed to have had it all.
After a year of dating, Eddie knows he wants Tyler by his side for the rest of his life.
He called me up one evening and he said he's thinking of marrying Tyler. And I said, Ed, why do you want to marry her? And he said, because I love her. And I said, stop right there, Ed. I said, that's all you got to tell me. If you love her, marry her.
So I was thinking that, this year you could give me something special for Christmas and be my wife.
Yes! Oh my God! Yes!
For Tyler, at this age of her life, at this stage of the year, Christmas time, to be proposed to in marriage with the one who you really feel is the one now must have been thrilling for her and so exciting. It was like, finally, she'd done it right.
The beautiful couple begins planning their happy future together. But now that future seems lost forever. A shell-shocked Tyler gets the news. Detectives believe the body found inside the Patton home is Eddie.
The house looked as though there had been a burglary. There had been items strewn about the house, and the house was in disarray.
Authorities remove fragments of wood from the victim's hair and face. And outside, another gruesome discovery.
By the back door, law enforcement officers found a 2x4 that they knew was significant because it clearly had dried blood on it and also brain matter. There were some hairs stuck in the 2x4 as well.
The splinters from the victim are a match to the 2x4. Investigators have proof. It's their murder weapon. Eddie's Eddie Patton's life has been violently cut short. Investigators know they'll have to scour the house from top to bottom to find out why. And what they discover will turn the case on its head.
Ugh, I swear my neighbors think I'm probably getting murdered right now.
Newlywed Eddie Patton appears to have been beaten to death in a burglary gone wrong.
Law enforcement officers are always interested to see if there's trace evidence or fingerprints or something that might identify who had been in the home. And in this case, there was no one else. So the fingerprints, the blood spatter, the trace evidence did not lead to any third person. It was just evidence that Tyler and Ed had lived in that home.
Did the killer wear gloves or wipe away their prints?
Who might want to hurt your husband?
Well, I can't think of anyone.
Tyler tells investigators everything she can about Eddie's last few days.
Ed had turned up sick, and because he loved her so much, he did not want to spread that to her. And so that at Ed's suggestion, she was in the rental house so that she didn't catch whatever he had.
About 8.
Tyler told police officers that she had been by checking on Ed the day before, and that she had found that he was resting.
It was the last time she talked to her loving husband. Police continue searching the house, and they make a shocking discovery: marijuana and a mixture of prescription pills. This changes everything.
So if drugs are found at a crime scene, particularly a homicide crime scene, one of the first things law enforcement will do is to see if there's a tie between the victim's activities and drug activities, and if so, whether those drug activities are tied to the victim being murdered.
They confront Tyler about the drugs. She says Eddie has struggled with substance abuse in the past.
I did hear when they got together, he wanted to get away from his friends. He was living kind of a wild life, and he had been into drugs.
What she confided in me was that, he was doing drugs again. And he had promised her when they got married, if they got married, that he would never do that.
She says he was mixed up with some shady characters from the local drug scene.
What the heck is going on in here?
She said his friends would come in at any time, and I don't know. She thought that a lot of it was for drugs. She never said how often it happened or anything.
We wanted to make sure that there was a thorough investigation to see if any drug activity at the present time had anything to do with Ed being killed.
Did a lingering drug habit lead to a dark end? Just a year earlier, Eddie and Tyler's future looked so bright. Not long after their engagement, Tyler moves in with Eddie.
Eddie was very protective towards her and made sure she was comfortable and had what she needed.
What she was looking for was someone who would dote on her, be loving and considerate to her, and that was Ed's nature. So in Ed, Tyler found the perfect man.
Excited?
She told me that he brought her a rose almost every week, and she saved them. I remember how consistently happy Tyler was with Ed.
Having acts of romance, whether it's just a simple rose, whether it's buying your lady some chocolate or ordering a nice bottle of champagne when you're out, is a way to constantly rekindle and refuel the relationship. It's a way to remind your partner that they are loved. And Eddie did this for Tyler.
Once she settles in, Tyler starts remodeling the former bachelor pad.
I mean, it was unbelievable. Because you look at this girl and you would think she wouldn't know a screwdriver from a hammer. But quite the contrary.
Now, I'm thinking of returning this one, but what do you think? I'm leaning towards this one. What do you think?
That's what I would have chosen.
Eddie was a longtime bachelor, and anybody who's been in the pad of a longtime bachelor knows that it's always due for a remodel. Tyler wanted to be part of his life. She wanted to leave her mark on his life, if you will. This was symbolic for Tyler. She was ending his single life and beginning to build a home for both of them.
What else are you gonna do? Anything else?
Everything.
Ed did like the fact that she would tackle everything or anything and was a self-starter and had new ideas all the time.
She applies that same attitude to planning their upcoming wedding. It's going to be a modest affair, but still, Tyler attends to all the details.
Tyler approached it like one of her projects, and she really liked to plan and have things perfect and do them herself.
Since this won't be her first trip down the aisle, she doesn't want a traditional wedding gown.
Oh my God!
She decides to be pretty in pink.
I think the idea that Tyler had to do Pretty in Pink was both youthful and sweet and almost childlike. I think the blush color showed that her heart was blushing for Eddie.
But now all Tyler has are rose-colored memories. And investigators are left weighing two motives for murder: burglary gone wrong or drugs.
Law enforcement always wants to know if a homicide victim has enemies. And if there's illegal drug use, then that can lead you to a vendetta or somebody who believed Ed might have owed him money.
Investigators need to find out if and how 𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐵𝐵𝑇ton is connected to the drug underworld. It could be their best chance of catching his killer. Did newlywed 𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐵𝐵𝑇on have drug world connections that led to his murder? Investigators talk with his family and friends, including his wife Tyler, to try and find out.
He was very sociable. He did like going out, going to parties and so on. But I didn't see him getting any strange calls or strange people coming in to see him. If he was dealing in drugs, he fooled a lot of people, including me.
I had never heard that he was ever involved with people that were buying and selling drugs.
I never had a sense he was using drugs. He was never going to the restroom all the time or anything like that. I don't consider that he was any more of a party boy than Tyler or myself.
So what about the drugs found at the murder scene? A closer look at that evidence raises more questions.
There was marijuana that was placed in an area where law enforcement would definitely find that. There were a number of prescription pill bottles. There had been a number of pills taken from each bottle and then put together in one bottle, and that pill bottle containing the mix was left purposefully.
And when Eddie's autopsy results come back, they poke more holes in the drug murder theory. Only over-the-counter cold medicine is found in his system.
And so the indications from Ed's body in any place that was looked was that Ed had not been using illegal narcotics.
The autopsy also reveals the savagery of his death. He was struck at least 8 times with the 2x4.
Ed had no defensive wounds, and so what that led the coroner to conclude was that he was probably asleep at the time he was originally hit. The first or one of the first blows would have knocked him unconscious, and then the blows continued until he was dead.
Nothing seems to be adding up. So detectives dig deeper into Eddie and Tyler's relationship. Just 11 months earlier, the happy couple pledged their lives to each other. Also beaming with pride is Eddie's mom. She's thrilled to have Tyler as a daughter-in-law.
Ed's mother loved Tyler. In fact, Ed's mother said to me, "Carolyn, we finally did it, didn't we?"
Eddie's mom wanted him married, and to have someone like Tyler who she actually likes is all a good thing. She wants to see her son happy, settled down, and cared for.
You couldn't wipe the smile off her face. She was just so happy. And she welcomed Tyler into the family, as we all did.
Eddie and Tyler skipped the honeymoon and immediately settled into married life. But soon Eddie notices a change in his bride. She's short-tempered and confrontational.
Can we go somewhere else?
Ed discovered that there was a different side to Tyler, and that in addition to being loving and outgoing, there were times when she was controlling and had a temper.
This is ridiculous. This is not okay.
And if things were not done according to the way she wanted them, there would be some trouble for whoever had done it wrong.
Eddie was probably very shocked to start to see a personality come out of Tyler that was angry, irritable, demanding. This wasn't the woman he had proposed to. This was somebody new. It's every man's worst fear, you know, that the day after the wedding, the bride turns into somebody crazy and angry and hard to live with.
I'm not having a good time. Did you notice that?
This seemed to be happening for Eddie.
But I just told him to just say, "Yes, dear." Just give in to it.
That only helps in the short term.
Honey, just...
As the months go by, she expects Eddie to work harder and get them higher up on the social ladder.
I had heard through his mother that they were having problems. Tyler was putting pressure on him for more, and Eddie just couldn't provide everything that the girl wanted.
Tyler would talk about needing more, and the more was always based in finances. More money, more material things, a bigger house, better things for herself. Tyler believed that she was entitled, that Ed had not been fulfilling her expectations.
There are many tales of Tyler's anger, and one of them is permanent. Investigators find an audio tape in Eddie's home office.
Look what we have here. This is garbage. Did you see the neighbors?
It's a recording of a blowout argument between the newlyweds.
I need more, Eddie. Get out there and get me more.
Ed had a audio tape of her yelling at him and describing how he was insufficient for her, that he couldn't provide for her at the level that she deserved, and that she wasn't going to put up with less than what she felt like she deserved.
She was just hollering at him, horrible.
This is garbage. Look at what I wear. You're not doing enough for me. I deserve more. I deserve better than this.
I remember he said, "I want people to hear this because I want them to know how you really are." That showed to me that there must have been a lot of tension between them, you know, for him to record that.
You are worthless. I can't even look at you anymore.
Eddie recorded the argument on January 2nd, about 2 weeks before he was killed.
What we learned instead of this blissful marriage was that the two had been in a marriage that had recently deteriorated to the point where Tyler had turned ugly.
A receipt shows that Tyler moved into the couple's rental property the day after the argument.
The temporary living arrangements of Tyler just staying at the rental house for a couple of days until Ed got better was really not the case, because she had hired this rental company to move a number of things, including large pieces of furniture, which of course you wouldn't need if you're just waiting on your man to get over a cold.
Instead of the grieving widow, Tyler is starting to look more like a suspect.
Tyler was going to benefit financially if Ed died, and she was going to benefit far less if she and Ed got divorced. There was hundreds of thousands of dollars that Tyler believed that she would benefit from by Ed being did.
When investigators take a closer look at the crime scene, more alarm bells go off.
Law enforcement could tell that the crime scene was not as it should be. Things were placed in such a way that maybe you would expect them to be, but in real life they would not. People oftentimes think that people who come in and commit burglaries and kill someone will go through all the drawers and disrupt most of the house. And in real life, it's just not true.
They said the lamps and everything was laid on the floor. Nothing was knocked on the floor like a burglar would have done looking for money or going through stuff.
A staged crime scene and a story full of lies. Everything is pointing toward Tyler. Detectives bring her in for questioning. She denies any involvement in Eddie's murder.
I know you've been telling me a lot of lies. I know you and Eddie had a lot of problems.
Tyler said that they had the perfect marriage, that they had no arguments, that there wasn't any problems between the two of them.
We love each other.
That they were new into their relationship, still heavily in love.
Well, no more.
That's not her only excuse.
Tyler indicated that she was small, that she was not physically active, that she didn't weigh very much, that she didn't have very much strength, that she was physically incapable of having committed the murder.
She even has a doctor's note.
Call my doctor.
She had had a breast augmentation surgery not long before the homicide, and that the range of motion and the strength that you would need to wield the murder weapon, the 8 or so times that it obviously was not something that she was physically capable of.
Police are certain that Tyler Patton is their killer, but without hard evidence, they can't prove it. They have to let her go, for now. Police in Overland Park, Kansas, believe Tyler Patton killed her husband in order to get her hands on his insurance money. But they can't prove it. Until a DNA test provides them with physical evidence.
Tyler's DNA was found on the 2x4 that was conclusively the murder weapon. We know that because her DNA was on the wielding end. Ed's DNA was on the receiving end.
On July 6, 2001, police arrest Tyler Patton and charge her with the first-degree murder of her husband.
I thought, there's no way she could have murdered him. That's not what she does. There's no way she could do that to anybody.
If you could slap one character for their dumb decisions, who would it be? Huh? Go on. Vent in the comments. I can't wait to read.
In court, the prosecution lays out what they believe happened that night. Tyler let herself into the house, where the man she promised to love forever was asleep and completely defenseless.
The feeling, my heart just sunk when I heard what had happened to Eddie, something so brutal. To think that anyone would go to that length to kill someone for money.
She tried to throw police off her trail by staging the crime scene.
The marijuana was thrown out purposefully in a place where everybody and their aunt would have seen it. The prescription pill bottles were there so that everybody and their uncle would have seen it.
Hi, honey. I'm at the hardware store, and I'm looking at the saw you like so much. I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up.
The next day, she started setting up her cover story.
She would be at one home improvement store and call him, and then it would be an hour or so later and she would be at another home improvement store. Oh, Eddie, I hope you're feeling better. Make sure you take your medicine. And it was just calls throughout the day, 10 to 12.
The final step, discovering the burglary. Tyler's defense maintains that the real killer was one of Eddie's drug buddies. But despite the pot and pills found at the crime scene, the evidence proves Eddie's death is not drug-related.
There was a thorough investigation. There was simply no drug dealer or no drug usage that had anything to do with the person taking his life.
And what about the claim that because of her breast surgery, she couldn't swing that 2x4?
Luckily, we were able to find a photograph of Tyler on the roof of the house just days before the murder, and she is in the act of swinging a hammer. It's not that she's holding the hammer, she's in the act of swinging the hammer. So that memorialized the fact that she was physically capable of having committed the act.
Be honest. Did you watch the last scene through your fingers? Comment yes or no.
We were so in love, yet we could sound like screaming banshees.
When she takes the stand, she becomes her own worst enemy.
Tyler never showed any remorse. At trial, she never showed that she was a grieving widow. She never indicated that she was sad in any way that Ed was gone. What the jurors got was a defendant who was saying that her husband was insufficient for her, beneath her, not worthy of her, that he didn't provide enough financially, that he had an unsavory character, and the arrogance that she showed, it worked against her because in the end, the jurors did not like her.
On May 2nd, 2002, one day before what would have been Eddie's 50th birthday, Tyler Patton is found guilty of first-degree murder. She receives a mandatory life sentence.
By all accounts, Ed was a wonderful human being, and she took his life because she could, and because she didn't believe that he was good enough for her. So when the jury returned a verdict of guilty, it was wonderful because finally somebody was going to be able to answer for Ed's murder.
She killed a man in cold blood because of her deep fear that with a divorce, she would slide backwards in the social ladder. She'd worked so hard to get to where she thought was important in life, and she wasn't going to let anything stop her from continuing to rise.
Tyler maintains her innocence, and some believe her.
But did she do it? No. I don't think she was capable. I don't think she would have. I think she and Ed had a good relationship, but a fiery one.
Tyler was no dummy. She was shrewd and she was manipulative. She'd managed to get 4 different men to marry her. She was able to entice, seduce, and manipulate people. So it made sense that some friends would think she's innocent.
Eddie's beloved mother is left to bury her only son.
It's a tragedy that should have never happened. We lost a young man that never got to live a full life. And it's just hard for me to understand.
I do think of Eddie now and then, and the spirit he had. Always a laugh or a joke, and always making people laugh. Just a good guy. I was glad that I had him in my life.